this game was a huge mistake. It was definitely a challenge and problematic to work on. I want to share the experiences with you so you don't make the same mistakes and also the process. This is Drones in Motion, and thank you for joining. So the name of this game is Yeetmon, and it's a play on Pokemon, and the term Yeet or Yeeting, it was like, big for the kids and stuff. And I just wanted to create a simple game that followed a simple mechanic, and it took many iterations, and this was one of them. So this was the first one that I did, or one of the first ones. These were the characters that I really liked. I drew them in Procreate. I really liked the first one, so I brought it into Moho, redrew it inside there, rigged it up, and I started animating it, and I got a really nice result. I think the art style went well to it, and I was really proud of what was created. But then, it wasn't good enough eventually. After seeing it a lot, and I just wanted to do something very visually attractive. I was playing a lot of the new Mario game, Mario Wonder, and I was just really taken by the aesthetic of that. So, I decided to kind of drop this simple 2D animation style and pick up something that is way above what one person could produce by themselves, and I got myself in a lot of trouble doing it. So back to the drawing board, and I designed these guys. I decided to use one base and build a 3D model and render it out to get that Mario Wonder kind of look and feel. So now after I got the base template finished, I'm bringing it into Blender. This is that's the base template in the background, and this is the model I built, and this is a kind of a Frankenstein model, I would say. If you look at the wireframe, which over here, you'll see that it's all different densities and whatnot. So I just put together the pieces. I use a sculpt brush to get nice shapes and stuff, and here I just tested the poses and make sure I could get those key silhouettes and looks that I wanted from the model. It's another file pretty early in the game when the topology. This is a finished retopologized model of the character with the tail and everything joined properly and stuff. And as you can see, it's all connected. This was the start of the trouble trying to get this workflow going. Is a lot. I mean, but the results it looked pretty cool. This was one of the second character I worked on. It's he's called Guppymon, and it's based on a fish. And so you get a much more better visual representation here. The face, I used planes and just shrink wrap the face inside there and the parts, but the faces and eyes are animated, so I would animate them on the model to get those different expressions and stuff, right? And I'll show you some a quick example in a couple seconds. But so this is the model wireframe. Very simple, because initially I wanted to use the model as is, but then when I brought it, it just looked a bit flat. It needed kind of more texture and stuff to get that feel. I mean, it was serviceable for a mobile game, but again, I like trouble. I wanted to make my life much more difficult, so I was like, no, and I started doing that. So this is the other character. You would have seen in the game is a rabbit, And this was one of the animation tests. I got the idle animation. One thing that I did here was I used the animations and reused them. So I animated one character and just using one base model. I basically transfer the animation to all the models because it's just one rig with different finishes on the character. So here what I did was I added fur and actually rendered out the frames to bring in the game. So basically be able to run like a sprite-based, image-based animation game. I was using 12 frames per second to get that kind of like Spider-Man, Spider-Verse kind of look and feel with the little keyframe animation rate. But yes, over here I'm just showing up the rig and stuff. You don't see fur just yet, but I just wanted to show you that it was a lot of time was spent waiting out the core base rig and making sure everything could bend and move as I wanted. And those legs are not really connected. You could move them like front and back and stuff, so you could get a lot of motion out of the character, and it deformed pretty nicely. And I got the result I was looking for. So here is the finished product with the fur. So I was gonna make all of the characters with fur and render them out, which is like reminds me of that like game, the King of Fighters 13, where they did elaborate character sprites and stuff, right? It was a lot, but they completed it. So this is like really cool. This is the finished product, which I think it looks really nice. The animation looks really cool, and this is what could have looked like, and yeah, this was that was the process of building all those characters for the game. And over here I'm gonna attempt, well, I'm showing you a breakdown of all the different modules and scripts that I used to build out the actual game itself. And there's a lot of management scripts because I was building a front end where you could change characters, unlock stuff, and like the things I expanded the Unity editor to accommodate it, and it was a whole thing. So managing like the coding, the character production, and all those things, it kind of burnt me out pretty badly. And I think that's the thing, when you're working on something, you need to like pick a like an end point, something that you could accomplish. Because here I just like boy, I like just kept on adding to the project, and like I'm trying to like just add a ton of features and stuff, and some of them even make it to the end. But I built a pretty much like a modular level thing, so it's like a kind of like a roguelike kind of vibe. So it's like it pulls in levels dynamically and builds them. Alright, there's a control scheme here. So as you can see, I'm playing a level here, right? So this was it builds the levels dynamically, a procedural generated level. So I'm gonna stop it and start it back and show you that a different level will come up. So here we go. So yeah. So as you can see, like there's a different level that pops up here. And what I'm gonna attempt to do tonight is complete this level and show you the end of it, right? But I think it's really important when you're picking a personal project or something you're gonna work on, even like something for like a paid gig, picking or defining how the project ends or the parameters of like your work, how it's gonna be completed is kind of important. Because sometimes you just want to polish and make sure it's like perfect, and you miss the point of the whole exercise, which is really to create and put out something. And it's a kind of paralysis, this how to put it, the pursuit of perfection, getting it exactly how you want it. So, I mean, a lesson that I kind of like have to keep in the back of my mind is like nothing is gonna like, be completed the way you, may envision it to be, but you have to be kind of realistic in how you approach it. You can't get everything go like 100% right and be like the best thing ever, kind of. But you just have to manage your expectations, and you have to like be realistic with yourself. I mean, I really wanted to like put this out and finish it, but it just like after reaching a point, I got like so burnt out. Like I just like put a pause, and the pause turned into like stagnation, and it just like got stuck in limbo. So I guess the lesson I learned from this is to manage yourself and your work better. Set defined goals and whatnot. And what I really want you to listen to like really consider is learning from this mistake. When you're jumping onto a new job or like a project, basically set the beginning and end parameters of it. Like define the finish line, much like a finish line is defined in a game, which we will be coming up to in a second. Define that for yourself, because that goalpost could just keep on moving, and you could just be in a perpetual race for far longer than you want it to be. So yeah, this was the episode. Thank you so much for joining and for your support, and like, share, follow, and again, thank you so much.